Aloha, scooterheads. Before we get started, I want to clarify a couple issues because this was a live interview and we were talking back and forth. We weren't staring at the internet and looking up facts as we were talking. So I just want to be clear. We're going to talk about whether or not scooters can be brought on a commercial airplane. Now, on a private airplane, such as Ed, the pilot, who we are interviewing, will be piloting. He can bring whatever kind of scooter he wants. But TSA has guidelines, and then individual airlines can go above or below whatever TSA says. TSA makes suggestions. What TSA suggests is that you can bring lithium batteries on board an airplane only in your carry-on and no more than 160 watt hours, or on some occasions you can bring up to 300. So you could have two 160s. For some reason that's allowed according to TSA, or a single 300 watt hours. Very few scooters are going to meet these limitations, and I suggest to you, scooter heads, that before you try to bring a scooter on an airplane, you contact that airlines and get prior permission. Tell them exactly what the specifications are, because many airlines, like Allegiant, for example, will not allow a scooter battery of any type whatsoever. The only candidates I could come up with in my research were the Razor E Prime and a small scooter, I think from Germany, called SoFlow, S-O-F-L-O-W. During the podcast, we're going to talk about Levy scooters because they have a removable battery. But here's what the Levy website says. Currently, under TSA regulations, batteries for electric scooters are not permitted in checked or carry-on baggage without special accommodation. Yeah, I don't know that that's 100% true, but what they go on to say is, according to the TSA website, with airline approval, passengers may also carry up to two spare larger lithium batteries up to 160 watt hours, or metal batteries 2 to 8 grams. This size covers the larger aftermarket extended laptop computer batteries and some larger batteries used in professional audio visual equipment. Levy then says, as both our battery packs exceed the 160 watt hour threshold, they are not permitted on flights. My conclusion is, at this point in time, it is not really feasible to buy an electric scooter, put it on a commercial airplane, and take it to your destination. That's why I bought a kick scooter with no electric battery. Now, let's get on with the show. Aloha, scooterheads, and welcome once again to another episode of the most feared electric scooter podcast on planet Earth. Why? It's the Electric Scooter Podcast. Nowhere else can you chill out in your lazy boy and passively become apprised of what's happening in the world of scooters. It's not exactly breaking news that I'm the only game in town, so here we are, folks. So let's talk about what's happening in the world of the Electric Scooter Podcast here at the Scooter Dome in fabulous Las Vegas. I get these statistics, and I don't know if they're accurate or how they know or what the deal is, so I'm just reading to you what I get sent in my email. One of the things is supposed to be an indicator of how popular the podcast is, but it tells me how many viewers I lost and how many new viewers I got by country. And the week of 24 July to 30 July, not so good, people. I don't know what happened, but United States, I was down by 76 listeners. Canada down by 15 and Australia down by 4. What's up with that? Bob's your uncle. So I don't. That's not the appropriate expression for that situation, right? Fair dinkum, but Bob's your uncle just seemed like something Australian to say. But at same time, Sweden, I gained the Electric Scooter Podcast gained 23 people. So I was like, Sweden, yeah, right on, Sweden. I'm into the Swedish stuff. But then this week we kind of rebounded. And I say that even though, I don't know what kind of trust to put in these numbers. We gained 71 listeners in Australia. Let's see, what's this the week? August 7th to August 13th. 71 in Australia. We lost 32 in Ecuador. Ecuador? ¿Qué tal, primos y primas? No entiendo por qué. Canada up by 12. So, I don't know. The audience is fickle, and I don't know if the statistics are accurate. Maybe they just send me this stuff to say, hey, stick with us as your podcasting platform because we keep you informed. I don't know what it all means. To me, it's not a barometer on how well the show went as far as production, as far as maybe guests or topics. I don't know. But I would say if I put like the name of a certain scooter up there, Apollo Pro or maybe Wolf Warrior, or name a scooter, and a lot of people are interested in it and they search for it, well, maybe we get more people. Honestly, I don't know how it works, but I do consider myself a world traveler. I've been to some of these countries. I love them all, but one thing is indisputable, and that is America is the greatest country in the United States. Let's get on with the show. I know one guest that is super fascinating and well-spoken was Ed the pilot. So this is going to be hopefully an ongoing conversation with Ed the pilot because I like having the guy and he's super knowledgeable and, all those reasons I told you about. So let's do a little bit of scooter news and then have a little conversation with Ed the pilot. And that's where we're winding down on the conversation. It was all actually one conversation, but it lasted about 2 hours. So near the end of the conversation, it was interesting to me that I kind of figured out little puzzles were dropping into place like Tetris. Do you remember that old game? And the pieces are falling from the sky and you got to match them up exactly where they fit. Is that Tetris? I think it's Tetris. Ed needs an electric scooter because he's an airplane pilot and he delivers airplanes. That's one of the things he does. He also delivers patients to hospitals and things like that. But one of his side gigs is jumping in an airplane that he's never flown before. Could be some crazy model built who knows when with weird stuff. But he knows the basics of how to fly an airplane, so he figures it out. Jumps in that airplane and flies to deliver it. So when he arrives, he's got to get to either air operations there across the tarmac, or a lot of times it's small towns, and he might have to go 3 or 4 miles to get into town. Hopefully they have an In-N-Out. I don't know. That's what I would eat if I just got back from a dangerous flight, which is pretty cool. I wish there was somewhere I could post the pictures. He texted me these pictures of him absolutely in flames. Timothy West up there in the Great White Green North. Great White North Green. Timothy West up in Vancouver Island. Okay, Island, not Vancouver City, Vancouver Island. Everybody confuses that, but Vancouver's a city, and then there's an island called Vancouver. He said, wow, that crash sounds pretty crazy, pretty fiery. So I texted him the pictures, and wow, they're just insane. He survived. So if I were him, I know I'd be the most confident man on planet Earth if I'm not already. The Electric Scooter Podcast news. It's good for you. Sprinkle it on your cereal in the morning. It's delicious. It'll make you more attractive to the opposite sex. ESPN, Electric Scooter Podcast, Podcast News, ESPN, There is a scooterhead who is woefully unrepresented here on the Electric Scooter Podcast, and I need to remedy that. Maybe I'll try and get an interview with him sometime, and that's Jimmy Chang, because I often talk about the Electric Scooter Guide, Timothy West, Ginger on Wheels, Aroma Surf, not as much since he's gone more into e-bikes, Ben Fox, but I don't mention Jimmy Chang nearly as much as I should, and it's always on the back of my mind. He has a new video because he bought an electric truck. He bought the Rivian. Think about that. He now throws his electric vehicles into the back of an electric truck and then go to cool places to review scooters. He also does one wheels. Jimmy, if you're listening, I'd love to interview you, and I apologize for not giving you the props that you deserve, because Jimmy Chang's videos and his reviews are really, really good. His production value's good. He's got a buddy that's always filming him, so the camera angles are good. And I believe he is unbiased, and it's just high-quality stuff. And, you know, I always mention Timothy West, Ginger on Wheels, Electric Scooter Guide, all these different folks. They often have an Amazon page. Jimmy Chang has his own store. So if you go to his YouTube videos, click that little down arrow thing near the top, and then that expands the window, and you'll see that you can buy T-shirts and things like that. I haven't done it yet, but I think I will, because we got to support our scooterheads, right? Our next story is actually my advice to you to watch a video. I know right now you're chilling, laying back. You don't have to be occupied. You don't have to run to your TV or your computer or pull out your phone. You're just relaxing, right? Listening to scooter news. But when you get a chance, the Electric Scooter Guide has a new video that is hosted by Ramier. And that right there is alone is reason enough to watch it. But it's called the Top 5 Reasons You Should Buy an Electric Scooter. And I'm not going to criticize them, but I would call it Top 5 Reasons You Should Own an Electric Scooter. And I'm also going to change around, give my own little spin on it. According to the Electric Scooter Guide, the number one reason that you should own, I'm saying own, they're saying buy, an electric scooter. They say best alternative form of transportation. But I think that's overarching, right? You could just say that, and that covers everything. It's the best. I would say it's the cheapest, it's the easiest. That's kind of what they're saying too. I'm not critiquing them, just saying, putting my spin on it, right? So that's number one. If you're looking for an alternative form of transportation, buy a scooter. Number two is portability. You don't see Jimmy Chang towing his Rivian with a scooter, right? It's the other way around. He's got the Rivian, toss the scooter in the back. Once he parks, then pull the scooter out and go wherever. I've done that in a video. I made a video and I didn't release it, but I used my Wolf Warrior to carry in a backpack my Zooter when I got to where I was going. It's kind of scooter on scooter. Not scooter on scooter crime, just scooter on scooter fun. When I got to the park, I parked my Wolf Warrior, pulled out the Zooter, and zootered around and had a good time. So that is number two, portability. If you're going to be going up and down some steps, if you're going to take it into your office because you don't want it stolen, come on. I don't really, I feel dumb even explaining that a scooter is more portable than a car, right? Because Transportation, what are we comparing scooters to? Motorcycles, cars. Reason number 3, reliability. Now, you're going to have to put air in your tires, and when you get your scooter, you're going to have to pull out some screws and put on some blue Loctite. There's a couple things you need to do. You got to adjust your brakes once in a while, depending on the model, depending on what you're doing. But compared to a gas car, just lift up the hood of a car and look at all the wires and all the things that can go wrong. And a scooter looks pretty good by comparison. Reason number 4 is fun. That's actually my reason number 1 to buy a scooter. I don't do much of my daily business on a scooter except run into the store every once in a while to pick something up. But I even do that because it's fun. Stores aren't far from me. Vegas, the streets are laid out fairly easily. Since people work 24 hours a day, unless you're getting on the freeway, I don't really run into traffic jams anyway. I take the scooter just because it's fun. Reason number 5, according to the Electric Scooter Guide, and I do agree, of course, is that it's a time saver. You can cut through parking lots. There's little shortcuts. You can go through parks that cars can't do. You can just avoid traffic, even if you're in traffic. You can weave in and out. I don't necessarily recommend that, but you can get in the bike lane, and when everybody stopped, you just go past everybody up to the front. Some cities you're not allowed to go on sidewalks, but if it's safe, let me admit guilt. I sometimes ride on sidewalks. I don't make a habit of it, but if it's convenient, do whatever is safest and most convenient for you. Just my opinion. And that is my number 6, because Electric Scooter Guide only had 5. Number 6 is convenience. That kind of sums up, the portability and the price and all that kind of thing. Having a scooter, it's just, if you have a single family home like me, it's in your garage. It's always there. You just step on it, hit one button, and go, okay? You're on the road. And if you don't know what to do when I have people visit, because the Scooter Dome is in Las Vegas, people like to visit me. I often have visitors. Hey, let's grab a couple scooters and, go to this park or do something. It just always gives you something to do. It's not expensive. It's convenient.
Electric Scooter Podcast Top 5.
And now, on with the show. What kind of sound transition was that? What is this, Batman from 1965? So we're going to pick up our interview here with Ed the pilot, and we're going to find out that maybe the whole conversation was a waste of time as far as he's concerned, because once he gets to his destination, he's going to get home somehow, right? And that's probably going to be a commercial airplane, a commercial airlines, and you cannot put an electric scooter on a commercial airlines. On the airplane he's taken to where he's going, he can put whatever he wants on because he's the pilot. But as far as cruising around town, all that stuff, he's good. But then he's going to get back home. And you can't take an E-Move Cruiser, which seems like that's the one that he ended up liking the most, and put it in the overhead of a United Airlines flight. Can't do it. I mean, maybe if you got some kind of special permission ahead of time or whatever, but it's generally not done. And don't hold me to the math. I just looked on the internet of what they allow. TSA allows a certain number of watt hours. I think I might have said amp hours. I don't know if I got that reversed when we were just talking in casual conversation. So here we go, picking up where we left off with Ed the pilot. I think on the E-Move Cruiser, actually, to me, it's the only scooter I know of that you can retrofit a twist motorcycle type throttle on. Now, there are some seated, they call them scooters. I don't know if they're scooters. They're kind of a cross between a scooter and an e-bike. There are a couple that come with that type of throttle.
Twist throttle.
Twist throttle, thank you. Brain fart. And the folks at ESG, and I talked in person to the CTO for Fluid Freeride. they all seem to agree that was not just the best twist throttle or thumb throttle. That was the best throttle that they've ever experienced. And if you can put that same thing on the eMove Cruiser, I think that's the way to go. No key, twist throttle, because it comes with a finger throttle, which is actually what I prefer. I don't like the thumb throttles. Well, I have, for one thing, arthritis in my thumb. If you don't have it, maybe you'll get it from a thumb throttle. I don't like the way it controls the speed, and I don't like if you go off of a curb and then you bump it, that jolt. Now, Inokim, again, you pay more money, designed in Israel. Their software designers have a way to tell that if you pop it and hit it hard, simulating going off of a curb or hitting a rock or something like that, it smooths it out. It won't. But virtually every other scooter I've ever experienced, you pop that and you kind of jerk. It's a little bit unstable. Yeah, I don't like thumb throttles in general, with the exception of the Inokim. And I haven't used the twist throttle, but all reports are that it's awesome. So it has a index finger throttle, which I do like, and that's.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Going back to the batteries, like the eMove Cruiser, getting it on an airline, if you're going to do that, is it small enough to fit in an overhead bin?
No, and you cannot anyway. They say you cannot. I don't remember in kilowatt hour. No, I think it is. Is it amp hours? Yeah, amp hours is what the TSA measures it's in, and I believe it's 100. And that would be like the smallest, weakest scooter you could possibly ever imagine. It's basically, the way to do it is you have to have a scooter with a swappable battery. You have to bring the battery carry-on, get permission from the airlines first, and then you put the chassis into your check-in. That's the way it's done. And right now, this day and age, at this time, the way rules are, for me, it's not something I would do. Because I talked to United Airlines, and the guy I talked to, he said, I'm that guy. I'm that guy who looks at stuff and says whether it can get on the airplane or not. I'm the battery guy. And I would let you on, for sure, with the scooter that I presented him with. It's called the Levy, Levy, with a swappable battery. And he said, and why wouldn't I? He said, we let the same thing we talked about, like with Walmart and other places, bringing your scooter in rather than locking it up outside. He said people bring these mobility scooters on, handicapped folks or disabled folks, bring them on airplanes. And they have, in his words, stronger batteries than anything you're going to put on a scooter. He said, I would let you on. But you're dealing with different airlines and you're going to different places. It comes down to the airline, but TSA says 100 amp hours. I'll edit that out and fix it if I'm wrong, but that's what I believe. That was like 40 podcasts ago.
Yeah. Well, then that would keep me from getting an eMove Cruiser because I wouldn't be able to take it on an airline then.
That would keep you from getting any scooter, actually, because there's very few you could do that. It's not really a feasible way to do it unless you do it the way I said, where you have a battery in both places.
Yeah.
You know somebody in the city you're going to, and you just get a battery from the company sent to their house or sent to your hotel or whatever. If it's a place you go commonly, just keep a battery there. That's one way to do it. It's a hassle.
Yeah.
I go overseas a lot. And I want to keep a scooter with me, and that's why I got the Zooter. That's why I just got a non-electric kick scooter to do that. But you, flying in the United States, flying airplanes that you're in charge of, you could bring an eMove Cruiser for that purpose anytime.
That I can.
I wouldn't recommend for a commercial airline.
But to get it to that airplane, sometimes I have to fly to Texas to pick up the airplane that I'm ferrying, so I have to take the scooter with me on the airline to get it there. That's my problem. That's
an issue.
That's why I'm asking this question.
Wow, that is
I'm not flying a small airplane to go get another small airplane.
Right.
I'm flying an airline to go get the small airplane.
That is a monkey wrench.
That's where I'm.
You cannot, unless you fly the same airlines and you know what their rules are. Then you're going to have to get something like the Levy. Levy, the Levy scooter. That's the only one I know of that it's even a possibility.
So the X7 isn't even going to be a chance.
No. Unless, like I said, you had two batteries or you mailed a battery to yourself before you got there. I went through the same thought process, and to me, it ended up too much of a hassle. I'm not saying I won't end up with a Levy scooter, Levy, but I didn't rule it out. But just the hassle. I like things to be simple and easy.
Yeah.
That's why I bought the Zooter. Wow. So that is a monkey wrench. You're looking at the Levy, and then you're only talking about, I don't remember, but something like 12 miles of range.
And it's got a removable battery?
Oh, yeah. It has removable
So you
battery.
have to have 2 batteries.
Yeah, but you can only bring one. Because the lithium battery you cannot put in your check-in. It has to be carried on.
Yeah, it's carried on, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You can't carry 2 batteries?
If you had someone with you, you could. Unless you come across somebody who doesn't know the rules or doesn't care, or something like the guy I talked to. He was an official spokesman for United Airlines. I wish I'd recorded that conversation, but it was over the telephone. I was doing research specifically for a podcast. And he said, I'm telling you, I'm the guy that checks the stuff, and I would let you on. But it's going to be different people. You know, when you deal with different airlines in different areas, sometimes people, they're stricter than TSA. Sometimes they don't really care. Sometimes they don't know the rules at all, and they want to err on the side of caution. So I'm not willing to have a $200 battery and just leave it behind.
Yeah.
Because some person didn't know the rules or they're having a bad day.
Well,
even if you have a scooter with a removable battery and you're putting it on an airplane, I would call first and get the person's name and say, this person said I could do it. This is who they are, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Most likely, what's going to happen, you're just going to get on the airplane and nobody's going to say anything. That's probably going to happen 80% of the time. But that 20% of the time, do you want to leave a $250 battery laying behind? But the Levy, that is the only scooter I personally know of. There may be more now. I wish some scooter company, again, Scooter Magnet, and not magnet like you put on your refrigerator, Magnate, before you start flaming me with comments. Billionaire, because I think millionaires, there's too many of them. I don't think if you're a millionaire, you can own a scooter company. I don't know. Maybe you can. But people with a lot of money that are designing scooters, make one specifically for pilots, for passengers who are traveling. Make one that's below what the TSA maximum allowance is to be allowed on a flight.
there you have it.
Unless I was going to invent one myself.
Yeah.
I wanted to hear a little bit, though, before we sign off. I know you're pressed for time. About your background in scooters, because to me it's fascinating that you had a GoPed. You had a scooter with a gas
gas-powered 2-stroke motor.
So was it not a GoPed? I know of GoPed. The history of scooters, which I did in another podcast, goes from like 1930 or something. It just leaps up to 1987 when GoPed was a company that came out with scooters, which they're still in business. They make electric scooters. They make a kick scooter like the Zooter, which I might buy one of those too, because it is like the Zooter, but it has inflatable tires.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. There's advantages and disadvantages. That's a whole podcast too, because it's going to be heavier.
Yeah.
But it's going to be way more comfortable. It's going to last. They're indestructible. I mean, you could pass it on to your progeny 3 generations from now. I bought one for my daughter, and I know fully well that my grandkids are going to be riding those way into the future. The GoPeds that were made in the 80s are still around.
Can you crash the Zooter in your driveway and still ride it like I did?
Oh yeah.
Remember?
Oh yeah. Oh, people crash them all the time. Nut and Fancy. Watch the Nut and Fancy video. That dude, yeah, he's crashed his millions of times, as have I. And in your brief encounter, you crashed it once. So tell us a little bit about, was it not a GoPed that you had?
No,
was it
it
a different
was
model?
I can't remember the name of it now. It was it was actually an off-road competition scooter.
Wow.
Had a 2-stroke. You could change the gear ratio on it and everything. And it was, I wish I could remember the name of it. Really, they're really actually popular.
The engine like blah, 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 blah.
Oh, it was a 2-stroke. Yeah, it had
Wow.
a big pipe on it and all that kind of stuff. But when you're hauling it in the plane, you're hauling it with cans of gasoline and oil. You got to mix all the... But
Smell all
it is
that.
kind of good when you're out running around. You could carry a couple cans of oil in your backpack, and you could always just go to a gas station and mix some oil up
Yeah.
and throw it in there.
But
and,
electric is so much easier.
yeah, the electric is nice and quiet. You don't have to worry about the fumes. I mean, yeah, they are nice.
And did you ride that off-road?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I had knobby tires on it. Not knobby tires, but it was an off-road type tire. And yeah, they were really fun. They had 45 miles an hour. They were made by Blades. Moby Blades. That's
Okay.
what it was. Moby Blades.
Moby
I just thought of that.
You and I got to do the off-road electric scooter thing.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you offline if you wanted to do Red Rock or something on motorcycles or something too. I don't know if you'd be interested in riding.
I want to take your
one of
big
mine.
scooter out there. I want to take it down the freeway.
We can. I don't know about the freeway, but we could take it. You know, the speed limit on Blue Diamond's 55.
Yeah, that'll do it.
And we could take it to Red Rock and back. You know, we could take it to Blue Diamond and eat at that cafe there. Have you
Yeah.
ever eaten there?
No.
That place is really cool.
Let's do it.
It's really neat little town. You get into Blue Diamond, you got to avoid the piles of wild animal dung.
We'll throw on the motorcycle helmets and hit it.
Yeah, let's do that. So, okay, so you got the Moby Blades, and was there a long period of time between riding that and getting an electric scooter? I know you've had one electric scooter.
I've got two of them, but they pretty much,
That was the Xiaomi.
yeah, they took a dump on me, right? They're sitting in, they're paperweights right now in the garage.
Yeah, the technology has moved on since
Yeah.
then. That Xiaomi, that model that you had, was the #1 scooter in the entire world at one point. That was the generic. That's what everybody bought. They just made a lot of them, and they were reasonably priced, and people bought a lot of them. And even Xiaomi has moved along and has better models now, but I don't think they're even in the competition. Other than scooters you've ridden here that I have, you haven't ridden other electric
No.
scooters. And yeah, if you land at an airport and you got to get 5 or 6 miles somewhere, man, you're going to drop some pounds if you're riding in a kick scooter,
Yeah.
like a non-electric
That
scooter.
would be the weight loss program.
Well, your option is the levy. I mean, if it gets like 12 miles, that's pretty good. That's
Yeah.
going to get you
That's
to
not
your
too
hotel,
bad. Yeah.
and you can charge once you get to the hotel.
Yeah.
And if you do run out and you have a half a mile left, you can kick it. I mean, that's an advantage. You can do
Yeah.
that. You're going to drop some weight, but if it's at night and it's not too hot or whatever,
Yeah,
it's not
true.
it's suboptimal is the word we used to use, but it is doable.
Yeah. I guess I'll have to look at that one.
And you could also, as emergency, you could call Uber if you had to.
Yeah, sometimes where I'm at, Uber's not available. So
Yeah.
that's why these scooters are nice to have.
Yeah. But 90% of the time, 10, 12 miles of range might be enough to get
It should
you
be
there.
enough. Most of the time, these small airports aren't that far away from the town.
Yeah.
They're on the outskirts, through noise abatement and stuff like that. So they build the airport on the outskirts of town.
I would also think that if you're going in and out of towns, that these small town airports, that they're less likely to hassle you about the battery.
Yeah.
They're less likely to make a deal about it. Going through Harry Reid or Denver or somewhere, they're probably more versed in the rules and stuff. They're probably not going to hassle you. But you could always call ahead of time and say, I'm bringing a battery through, and I just want to make sure it's okay, and I get a name, somebody that said it's okay, here's how many amp hours it is, if they even ask. So that's an option. And it might be a very rare occasion that you would leave a battery behind. They're going to have to be kind of cold to say, you leave that $250 battery here behind. And there are things you could do. You could leave it at the airport and pick it up when you come back, and then you're lugging the scooter unnecessarily in your check-in. I did not consider the fact at the outset of the episode that you would be on commercial airlines.
Prior to getting to the airplane that I'm going to be transporting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unless it's originating in Las Vegas.
Yeah. But then I've got to get home. Because if the airplane's originating in Las Vegas and I'm taking it to Tennessee, I've still got to get home on an airline. No matter what, I'm always going to be on an airline. Unless I've got an airplane that I'm going to be bringing back by chance, but that doesn't happen very often. In fact, I don't think I've ever done that where I've transported one plane to a place and get a lift over to somewhere else and then bring one back. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Well, maybe this is something we need to revisit on this podcast. because, again, it was like a year or so ago. I know it was over 40, 50 episodes ago that I addressed it. And the technology has changed and moved on. And, man, there's been so many new scooters that come out since then. Maybe there is one. So let's you and I separately do research on this, on the internet, on YouTube, whatever. And maybe that'll be another podcast episode.
I'm sure it will.
It'll be specifically, instead of pilot needs scooter, like this one is, it'll be what scooter can be brought on commercial airlines.
Yeah.
And I'll see if they've changed the rules since then for TSA and all that kind of stuff.
Sounds good.
Well, hey, it's been fun.
It's been real.
Hope to have you back.
Yeah,
I hope it's been an okay experience for you, because I'd like to do it again.
Definitely.
For me, having someone else to sit and talk to just brings up more ideas. And I'll go out on a limb and I'll say this. You do have a good voice. You're well-spoken. You have a good radio kind of voice. That helps a lot. Not everybody does. So thanks for stopping by.
Well, it was enjoyable. First podcast, so it was pretty cool.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you listen to it, I hope you enjoy it. You like it. And you're actually not a podcast listener,
No, I'm not.
which is interesting, because as a pilot and traveling to different places, I would listen to podcasts even more than I do. I wake up in the morning, and whether I'm shaving or brushing my teeth, I put on a podcast. I'm listening to the news. But if you're listening on the podcast app on your iPhone, scroll up, scroll up, scroll up. There's a place for reviews. Give us 5 stars if you like the show. If you don't like the show, why are you listening? I don't know. So in theory,
true.
I should have all 5 stars.
That's right. All the time.
Yeah, and I do mostly.
You're a 5-star in my book.
I think every review I have ever got was 5 stars except for one. And it's a reasonable reason why the person gave me 4 stars instead of 5, because I interviewed a government person and I made some complaints, and that person said, hey, don't talk to them about rules and laws. They might create more rules and laws.
Yeah.
Don't even bring it up to them.
And one of these times also I might have to talk my bee business type stuff with podcast.
Yeah.
I know it's a scooter show, but you never know. We could put the bees out there.
Yeah, we can do that as a side. Also, I'm creating another podcast. We'll talk about that later. Thai food, Thai language.
Okay.
It's called TFTL, Thai food, Thai language, because there are a lot of people that are foodies that are really into Thai food. And there are people learning about it because maybe they're going to culinary school or this or that, or whatever reasons, or people that love Thailand, how to pronounce the words and what they are, the different ingredients. They use ingredients that we don't use over here. On Xiaomi and Neo, I was careful last podcast to mention very clearly, there's a scooter spelled Niu, and people call it Niu and Niu and all different kinds of strange words. It's pronounced Neo.
Neo.
Yeah, like people say the news, like on the East Coast. I was watching the news the other day. Or
Yeah.
I was at the beach and this girl was completely nude. They don't say nude.
Nude,
On the
yeah.
West Coast, we say nude and we say news, right? Do you say news?
News.
Yeah, but you've heard people say news, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is pronounced Neo. It's a Chinese word. It means ox or cow. And Xiaomi, the X is like an SY. People call it all kinds of crazy stuff. When they see an X, when Americans see an X in front of a word, it's like, ah! I have a friend named Xavier, so a lot of times they just default to the Z.
Okay.
Xavier is Xavier. He's
Xavier.
like Xavier Kugat. So it's been great having you, Ed.
Thank you.
I hope, I know I kept you long and you got other
That's
stuff
all
to
right.
do, but I hope it's a good experience and something you'll want to do, because I honestly, I'd love to have you back, because
I'll be
it's
back.
good having a two-way conversation.
I'll be back.
All right. Scooterheads, thank you for tuning in. Keep the shiny side up and the dirty side down. Aloha.